A model in SageMaker's definition is a combination of a model artifact, which is the outcome of a training job, plus the inference code that consumes the model. If you're using SageMaker's built-in algorithms or SageMaker's TensorFlow or MXNet Python SDKs, you don't need to create an inference code / container, as the SageMaker service does it automatically for you. But if you are bringing your own models, or if you have done training somewhere else and only you want to use the hosting service, you need to containerize an inference code and submit it along with the model. To create a model, you give it a name, you define the IAM role, and here is the location, the image location for that ECR Docker container that contains your inference code, and this is the location of your model artifacts. Optionally, you can give it a container hostname as well, and then you create a model. Now that we have bundled the model and the inference code together, we need to define how we would like to deploy it into production. This is where you define the configuration for production deployments and A/B testing. We click on Create Endpoint Configuration. We can optionally secure it with a KMS key, and we add our models here. I'll add my first model, and let me show you how to add a second model. This is, for example, for a situation where I have trained two models using the same, for example, data sets, but using different hyperparameters. And then we will edit the production variants. In this case, this is my first model. I select to use an M4 X large instance type. I want two of them, and remember, by selecting two or more instances, a SageMaker service automatically spins up your instances in multiple availability zones to ensure high availability for your model hosting. And the initial weight, which basically defines what percentage or what weight of the traffic will be sent to this exact model. We define 75 here. We'll repeat the same process for the second model. This time we will select only one instance and the initial weight of 25. To review the configuration, we have two models in production that are basically doing the same prediction with different hyperparameters, so we are testing accuracy of these models. One is receiving 75 points of the weight of the traffic, and the other is receiving 25%. And we create the endpoint configuration. Still, your models are not in production. To deploy them into production, you go to Endpoints menu and you create an endpoint. You define an endpoint name. And we select the recently created endpoint configuration and we create endpoints. This will take some time. It will be in the creation stage, and then we have our models. The model creation has successfully completed, and as you can see, the status is now in service. If you click on the model, you get the configuration of the model, the creation time, the last updated time, and there's a bunch of metrics on the model performance as well as the instances underlying them.